how to mask out part of your subject's head into your masthead. So we're just going to mask out a little bit of the R and the A, and maybe when I demonstrate this, I'm going to take out a little bit of the bottom of the R around this woman's head. So this kind of gives it the effect that when you photographed it, the masthead or the title of your magazine was kind of photographed behind your subject. You can only do this in Photoshop, so if you're using the InDesign tool, you have to use the Photoshop cover to create this part of that effect and then import it into InDesign. And you wouldn't need the text from the template right here. You would just need the text from your masthead and your image, and you can save that as a JPEG or as an EPS and then import that into your InDesign file. So let's go back to the original template. I'm going to turn off the contemporary part because that's going to be a little distracting. And I want to bring our image in. So I already have my image opened in Photoshop. And I just want to copy it. So I'm going to go to Select All. That's going to select all of our image. Go to Edit to Copy, or hit Command C on your keyboard if you have a Mac. And go back into the template and go to Edit to Paste. And I want to reduce the size of my image, so using the transform tool you can find under Edit, Transform to Scale. Click on your Move tool, hold down your Shift key, and reduce the size of your image. If you don't hold down your Shift key, your image is going to get distorted like that. Hit Command Z to go back. So make sure you hold down that Shift key, and I'm just going to bring it to the edge of that template and click Return once I'm there. Then I'm going to move the image up to the top part of my magazine, and this is where you can see that portrait is covering up his head and her head. I'm going to bring the image down just a little bit, selecting that layer. Okay, I'm going to have to extend the background on the top of this. So let's turn off the portrait masthead and this extra text. And using our rectangle frame tool, I'm just going to click and drag across the top part of this image, just getting some of that background. Make sure your layer is selected, and Edit to Copy, and then Edit to Paste. And it's going to put that on its own layer. I just want to move that to the top. So I'm holding down my Shift key and clicking the arrow up button. Now I'm going to move the layer behind the image, and I'm going to merge those two layers together. So holding down my Shift key to select both of those layers, I'm going to hit Command E on my keyboard. You can also, I believe, under the Edit menu, merge layers. Oh, under Layer. Hi, Group. Oh, gosh. Everything in the new versions of Photoshop is lost on me because I learned Photoshop so long ago, like the very third version of Photoshop back in the late 90s. So I'm going to hit Command E on my keyboard to merge those two layers and turn portrait back on so now I can see where it's positioned. I'm going to click that layer. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit more. Okay, so now you can see that when I zoom in, you can see a little bit of the bottom part of the R here covering her head, and most of the R and the A and the T right here are covering up a part of his head. I want to move that over just a little bit to the right. I'll click on my Move tool. Just want to get to the edge of the template here. So now I just have part of the R and the A I need to take out, and a little bit of this R as well. So with our image selected, click on Portrait. With Portrait selected, I want you, and you can keep it in its type form. Photoshop now allows you to layer mask over type, which is great because when I first learned how to do this, I had to create a copy of my text layer, then rasterize it, and then I could use the layer mask. But this new version of Photoshop is rocking. So I want to actually make Portrait a little bit bigger because I want to go all the way to the safe area of our template. So with my Move tool selected, I'm selecting that layer. I'm just going to increase the size of that text. I'm bringing it all the way to the blue line here. make that masthead nice and big. And once I have it in the right position, click return to hold that. Now, with the type layer selected, we're going to go down to the bottom of our layers panel, and you can see this little rectangle, white rectangle with a circle in it. This is our layer mask tool. I want you to click that, and it's going to create a layer mask and a little icon on our type tool that shows that we have a layer mask there. Now we need to select the brush tool in our tools panel. And I want to bring the black background to the front. This is going to basically erase back or mask over what we don't want. So it's going to make part of that R and the text disappear. The white foreground will bring it back. Rather than using the erase tool, which that's pretty much permanent, and you'd have to hit Command Z a few times or go back into your history panel to bring it back. It's a lot easier to use this layer mask tool, technique instead. So with our brush tool selected, you can see that our diameter of our brush is very, very tiny. I want to right click that because I want to bring up the options for that brush tool, and I want to make the diameter quite a bit bigger. But I also want to select the hard round brush first, and I'm going to bring that up to about 50 points or 50 pixels. And you can see that, you know, that's quite big. So now we're going to mask out, you know, the part of the R and the A that we don't want seen. I'm going to go as close to the hairline as I can. I might go a little bit over, which is fine, but I'll show you how to bring that back. So I'm going to erase back what we need to over here as well. Okay. Now we're going to zoom in even more, because I'm going to get some very fine detail here. And now back to the brush tool, and our diameter is way too big for this. So now I'm going to go back into the soft round opacity and bring that diameter down to 25. And then we can kind of, oops. Now we have to switch our foreground and background. So switch that to the white foreground and the white to the foreground. And now we can bring back a little bit of that R. And because I'm using the softer brush tool, now we can actually get into the little details we have here in the pixels within his hair and make it a little softer. Back to the brush tool, and I want to make this even smaller. I'm going to go down to 5 and erase back a little bit, or mask back a little bit that I don't want. And so it's going to be a little bit of trial and error. You have to go back and forth and kind of zoom in and out to see how well you did here. You don't want it to look sloppy, so that's why I'm using this very fine small diameter of the brush tool. And bring back a little part of the A here. And go on to the other side. Okay. I'm going to zoom back out. And now we're going to zoom into her hair line and bring back a little bit here. I'm going to zoom in quite a bit. There we go. Back to the brush tool. And just bring it back. Right now I'm using my mouse because my stylus is broken and I ordered a new one and it has not arrived yet. So this technique is actually a lot easier using your stylus. Okay, that's the end of the R there. Okay, and same thing here. Just going to bring back a little bit to the edge of her hairline here. And once you have that, you know, to your liking, let's zoom out so you can see our progress here. Yeah, that's looking really good. Once you have it perfect, you know, as perfect as you want to get it, go ahead and save that progress and make a copy of your template. So we're going to go to File, to Save As. And we're going to make a working copy of our template, so we can always go back and edit it rather than starting over from scratch or saving over the template and then not having the original back. So I'm going to just rename this, call it front cover _ working copy. And you can save it into the template folder that you downloaded, or save it to your desktop, or anywhere else you save your marketing, like on Dropbox or anything. I'm just going to save this to my desktop for now. Keep it in your Photoshop format and click Save. Photoshop format will preserve those layers, so you can always go back and change anything that you want. Now I want to change the color of my masthead, so I'm going to double click the portrait layer, the portrait type layer, and it's going to bring up our layer style. Then I'm going to go down to color overlay, and the last time I used Photoshop I actually used the color overlay and already have a gold color selected. If you don't have your gold color selected already, go click on that little color icon and your color picker will show up. Go into color libraries, and I used the Pantone Premium Metallics color book, and I selected Pantone 10354. That's a pretty close to that gold color that I really like. And once you have that selected, go ahead and click OK, and it will change the color on your layer style. And once you have that selected, go ahead and click OK. So now we've changed the color of our masthead to gold from the original template, which is kind of like a rosy gold or kind of a peach color. So that's it. That's basically all there is to using the layer mask to change the masthead and give it this kind of effect. Let's turn off the guide so you can get the full effect here and just see how really pretty that looks. Oh, it looks like I missed the fine details of the background here. Let's zoom in there. I know I duplicated that and then kind of didn't show you the rest of what I was doing there. Using your clone tool, let's turn off our masthead there so that we can just concentrate on our background. I'm going to use my clone tool, and I'm selecting part of that area where the original part of the image was, and I'm just going to paint it in. Make sure my opacity is set to 100. I'm going to paint that in and just kind of paint over that harsh line where we copied the background. And I'm going to click on my option tool again because I've run out of area to copy, and I'm just going to select this area here and just paint it into that corner. And now it's nice and blended. Let's zoom back out again and turn on our masthead. And there you go. Perfectly beautiful layer masked cover, magazine cover. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them below here in YouTube in the comment section. I'll get back to you as soon as I can.